Okay, guys, so I just got off the phone with. Okay, I don't even know how to explain this. It was so dumb. Okay, so you gotta understand. I understand I'm in Utah, right? And here, I've done the game with a few people. One of those people, a few of them actually have been some high school kids. There's one, I guess, particular girl whose parents found out and got really mad at me, and they sent me this like crazy text. So I was like, okay, well, I can call you and talk about it. We can have a reasonable conversation about it. Because, like, I know, and y'all know, I didn't do anything illegal, right? Because I'm just playing the game in public spaces with anybody who's there. Some of them happen to be adults, some of them happen to be high school kids, some of them have to be whomever, whenever, right? And the idea, I think it's in order to like legally record it, I think they have to be like 13 or whatever. And I just have to get consent in order to do the podcast, right? But that's the idea of like this whole journalistic pursuit that I'm doing with the Onyie Onyeabor Raising Project, right? So I'm doing that, right? And I'm pretty sure I know who it was, whose parents it was, right? I haven't tried, and I actually don't know the girl's game. I only know her gamer tag. I only know her gamer tag. Um, so I don't actually know who it is, right? Like her actual proper name. I know her gamer tag, which was Sia. I'm pretty sure it was her, but I can't be sure. Um, so her parent, or the parent comes, talks to me, and doesn't really like. They text me, they threaten to call the police, all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, like I understand you're upset, but have you recognized I haven't done anything illegal? And they're just getting so angry and freaking out, and kind of creating all this fuss. And I'm like, okay, I understand this got really close to home, but it got really illegal. Like it's like legality and your uncomfortability are not the same thing, right? And it's recognizing that the reason I do the measures that I do is literally to expose this type of stuff, and you're acting. And I couldn't actually get to this point. This is actually what I'm thinking, right? But I never got to this point. So we're texting back and forth, and I'll put the text conversation up here. And guys, I understand what I'm doing is unusual. I understand. It's like, well, Oni, why are you putting yourself at risk? You shouldn't just talk to kids. But it's like, this is the whole point of the Onyie Onyeabor Raising Project. The game, society, like this is what I'm trying to expose, is how, because of deep irrationality, because of things that have happened in our past, without understanding how to actually monitor and engage in our boundaries, we create these false narratives about the people around us, and that actually disables our ability to build a community, right? And it's what's creating all the mental health issues, it's what's creating all the alienation. And this younger generation is the people who's suffering for it, right? And it's a lot of it is because of like this older generation, like this mom here, right? Total moron. I'm not gonna lie, I lost patience halfway through. I called her an idiot, a moron, and I ended on calling her a fool. Because I'd called her, and literally she just talks at me for like 3 minutes, and then I'm trying to have a conversation. I ask two questions, and then she just hangs up like a Hollywood movie. She's like, "Don't talk to my kid," blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, first off, I don't know who your kid is. I've talked with dozens of kids, so I have no idea who that is. And, my text messaging from my business number, you know, it's how people get in contact with me. I give it out to everybody, right? So I don't know who she's talking about. And I have no, like, I mean, I have an idea probably, but I don't know specifically, right? And like once again, I don't go chase anybody down. Like I let people text me. Like I'll go through and I'll put out opportunities, but ultimately like I'm not trying to chase anybody down, right? But the idea is just like putting out it's business, It's like ads. You take the number down and I send out ads via text, right? And like if someone has specifically wants to book an appointment with me, I'll do that in a public space where everybody's safe, where I can record it, because that's my job to play the game, right? So anyway, and once again, the game is working because it's starting to expose these things, right? And once again, I understand why she's worried. I understand that. I guess it was a girl, 15 years old, why she's worried that she's talking to me. I understand why she's worried. So it's not that I don't understand it, right? It's not that I don't get it. It's that I'm not going to be held accountable for something, A, that I didn't do, and two, for being a positive influence on someone. Because first off, especially if they're minors, like when playing the game, the whole point of the game is I don't ever talk to people first. They always approach me, right? Because I'll put out a sign or something like that, or it's people approach me, right? So whomever this minor was, I didn't talk to them first, right? Because that's not how I that's not how I move in the world now. I just don't do it, right? I only invite people to play the game after they've spoken with me or after they've done me a favor. And obviously, like, I have mechanics in which I can do that and I create those situations, but I especially don't do it with kids. I'm not asking kids for favors, right? Or at least not particularly. Anyway, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's just this whole concept, this whole self-concept of how she was, like, acting and being worried and being super irrational, right? Now, what was interesting was after this whole moment, right? I just called her, and yeah, she talked at me for 5 minutes, and then she's like arguing with me over the text, and it's like, I called the police, I put the repeats, and like, the police are trying to call you. I'm like, no, they're not, because I haven't gotten a call from the police, and it's because I haven't committed a crime. And they know that if they called me, right, I could be like, what are you harassing me for? And then they could be like, well, it made them uncomfortable. It's like, oh, so that's what we do when we feel uncomfortable by someone, we call the police on them. When we don't like what someone does, we weaponize the police against them. And that's like what our culture has become. This is like the American culture. Like, we've just become where if someone makes us feel uncomfortable, we weaponize the state against them. We sue each other, we become litigious. And it's literally from just trying to build any level of genuine connection, because now so many people are so trapped in their own PTSD, their own hyper reactions, without any level of responsibility for their emotions, their understanding, like no level of rationale. And we have a country filled with them. This is like, the US is filled with people like this. And then we're wondering why we're scared of each other. Because like, you see these maniacs, like this mother, like lunatic. I'm like, I know, now I think I know who the daughter, and like, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know specifically who it was, but if it was the girl I'm thinking of, right? Once again, I don't know her name, I haven't said it publicly. But like, this woman, I'm pretty sure, is an alcoholic, right? Has lots of emotional issues. And like, she doesn't even live with the daughter, right? And the daughter, like, not full time, I guess it's like part custody. But like, the daughter doesn't like spending time with her because her mom's so crazy. But it's like, that's what's happening, is you're crazy. That's why, and the thing is, I know this because your daughter told me. And your daughter told me, not because I was asked, like, I asked a few questions, but she told me this because she can't tell you this, because you're irrational and you're crazy. And like, people don't understand. It's like, this is why this happens. And some people will be like, well, Onyie, you just shouldn't be doing it. And it's like, okay, so then what happens when that girl turns 18 and there's no longer the minor president? Well, what happens is she gets into drugs, she gets into alcohol, she gets some abusive boyfriend, she, maybe gets pregnant, and then goes down that line. Because they don't have anyone rational to talk to, because their parents are morons, right? They don't trust their parents, and they're not given any guidance. And then at 15, she's this protected child, but magically after 18, she goes into this mark of demarcation and is suddenly an adult and has to fend for herself, right? So do people realize how asinine that way of thinking is? And what's crazy is when you go and you travel the world, most people don't think like literally the majority of the world does not think like that. But they think it's normal because all they live is with other crazy people. So that's what's like so crazy. And that's why I'm trying to show this with the Onyie Onyeabor Raising Project. And I understand, like, once again, like intimacy and all this stuff and like statistics and lots of people, like, I understand why she feels the way she feels. I understand why their precautions are there. But it's like recognizing I took those precautions. And it's in recognizing what does someone, and it's like being able to understand how to identify a threat versus identify just a functioning member of the community. But she's so in her reactive mind, this mother, that she can't even identify that. She can't identify the fact that this man did call me. She can't identify the fact that he recorded the conversation. She can't identify the fact that this was in a public place. Right? So it's like all these means aren't built up for perpetration. If it is, he's putting an axe over his head. So why would he do that? Like right now, making this video, I'm publicly doing that. So if I'm doing anything where I'm messing with kids or doing that, it's going to come back on me. Why would I put myself and expose myself like that? Because I know I'm not doing anything like that. Because I'm trying to expose how people can learn to detect, be aware, and understand genuine, authentic connection, knowing when and how to speak to someone to identify what is their desires, what is their drives, what's their motivations, and knowing how to assess and move through that in a conscious, respectful, and also a safe way. That's what I'm trying to do here on the Onyie Onyeabor Raising Project. And this mother's an example of, like, literally, it's like you're a threat to your own daughter. Like, you're trying to help her, but actually you're just going to end up pushing her into the people. Because it's like, if her daughter, now once again, I don't know if this is the person. I don't know, right? I'm just saying it. But I remember there's one kid in particular I remember saying, like, they didn't trust their parents and they wanted to keep it a secret. It's like, the reason to keep secrets is because of how you overreact. So you've already lost the battle because you don't trust your daughter and your daughter doesn't trust you. So it's like you can come in and you can find this threat because you were monitoring them and controlling them. Then what happens when they turn 18, 19? Right? What happens when they decide, I want to rely on somebody else, or I'd rather live on my own than live with you? Then you've lost the battle. Because whether they're 15 or they're 19, if you don't have a relationship with them, you don't have a relationship with them. And then it's like, well, I'm trying to protect them from these bad things of the world. Right. But like, you have to understand in terms of like, okay, like if I was a pedophile, sure. 15-year-old, sure. Great. Understand that. Right. But that's a particular type of predator. There's also predators who go after women who are of age. There's also predators who go after older women. There's also predators who go after women. Like, a predator is a predator. Whether it's their demographic is under the age of 18 or over, if someone's going to come into your life and mess it up, you need to know what that looks like. And if you're going to overreact because of something as arbitrary as age or race or demographics, and not based off on what are they talking about, what are their principles, what are their values, if you're not thinking things like that, but you're using these arbitrary metrics, you're always going to screw up. And what's crazy is you're actually literally going to push people in the very situations you're trying to avoid them from because of your ignorance. And like, yeah, if this mother sees this is for you, right? Because it's like, I don't know what's going on. You're a complete idiot. You're a fool. Because it's recognizing that, like, nobody talks to me unless they want to talk to me. I'm not going out there trying to force people to be my friends. I'm not going out there trying to create connections with people who don't want to be me. If she got my number, right, which is probably my business number, it might have been my personal number, but if they got that number, it's because they wanted it and they asked for it, right? And that means they wanted to speak to me. Because I'm not going out there chasing anybody. I'm not doing that. So I know if that's what happened, they wanted to speak to me. And if they wanted to speak to me and they wanted to hide it from you, that's your issue. Not the fact that they're speaking to me. The fact is that they wanted to speak to me and they don't want to speak to you. And there's a reason for that. And if you don't start asking yourself, why do they want to speak to this stranger, but they don't want to speak with me who raised them, you need to start getting a clue on why that is. And a lot of parents are like, well, no, there's just the danger and this the reaction. It's like, and that's why you are incapable. That's why you are incompetent. That's probably why you're broke. That's probably why you're scared. It's probably why, like, you cannot move or function in life because you don't know how to think rationally. Because you have a bunch of these unhealed wounds and you need to buy my course, right? So mom, if you see this, you need to get the 7 steps to mastery and heal your wounds because you're crazy and you're a fool and you need help. And some people say, well, I need help, but it's like, all right, we'll see. Let's watch this play out. Let's watch this play out. What do you guys think of my hair? I'm working on cleaning it up. Let's watch this play out, guys. Let's watch this play out. All right. And a lot of people, if you guys have opinions on what I'm doing, I'd love to hear it. Once again, a lot of people are not going to like what I'm doing. But again, if I'm not committing a crime, that's really the line I'm towing because I'm trying to expose what's going on with our society and how we need to fix it. And I'm doing the work. So if you want to sit here and judge and be ignorant, I'm doing the work. I don't know what you're doing. I'm doing the work. So peace.